some of them are still not strong enough to face it so that they can save themselves. You know, we still camouflage a lot. We still, mask it a lot. But the younger generation now are much more open. They are much more quick to say what it is. And they are much more quick to point it out. They're even quick to say, no, man, so and so's behavior has changed from such and such a month or such and such a year to this now. So the younger ones, the 2000s and then, the late 2000s, they are much more braver. They are much more matured to point it out and, to see the red flags. So as a country, we are slowly opening up to it to say it's not taboo. It's something that happens, and if you let it, attack you, it might take your life. So we are slowly as a country opening up to it. There's a lot of initiatives.
Welcome to another episode of the Imperfectly Perfect podcast. With your host, Glenn Marsden, we go beyond the surface to share truths, journeys, and raw stories from some of the world's most prominent public figures. From entertainment and sports to corporate leaders, personal development experts, spiritual mentors, and leading medical and scientific professionals, each guest brings a powerful message of resilience and transformation. Subscribe to our new YouTube channel to stay updated on every episode as we continue our mission to change the narrative around mental health, one story at a time.
Yeah. First and foremost, welcome to the show, Aaron.
Thank you so much, Glenn, and thank you so much for having me. And good evening, good morning to anybody and everybody around the world watching this.
Well, you are welcome. The amount of work that I have seen that you've done over the years, spanning over 22 years in the media industry, but the whole premise behind the Imperfectly Perfect campaign is to strip that back and to find out about the person behind that. So we're going to touch base on the accolades and the achievements throughout the chat, but I want to know, who is Aaron, the guy from the beginning? How did you grow up? What was life like? Because there's one thing that stands out to me about you, and it's storytelling, and it's about bringing to fruition the stories of young South Africans. So tell us about the young Aaron.
Well, Aaron Moloisi is deep down a rural boy who grew up in one of the rural villages in Limpopo, one of the provinces in South Africa, up north in South Africa. I grew up in a very busy household. There was about 6 or 7 of us, nieces and nephews, running around the household. And we were taken care by a grandmother who was our mother figure at the time, because all our mothers were not married. So you can imagine growing up in a rural area where nobody wears shoes to school. And we used to pay 10 cents to go watch television at the neighbor's house because we didn't have a television set at my grandmother's house. And naturally, you develop a very competitive spirit as a child because there's a lot of you're all trying to, fight for grandmother's love. You're trying to be visible within a household of about 10 people at the same time. So my upbringing was that. And interestingly, I was an early boomer, if you put it that way. I started school at the age of 4. I was already in what we call sub A. I don't know what you call it in Australia. And by the age of 16, I had finished with my high school, my grade 12. I was at varsity when I turned 17. So my upbringing has always been that of a fast mover, a go-getter, because as soon as I realized there's another life outside of the village, on the other side of the mountain, that's when I thought, I need to do better so that I can live that kind of life and change my family's life. So at 16, I was at varsity doing Bachelor of Science in Chemistry and Microbiology. 19, I was done. And my first job was in the IT industry because I finished in 1999. And there was a big buzzword about IT and the computers are going to crash at the year 2000, Y2K, the world is coming to an end. I thought I want to be part of that. And my first interview that I went to after my degree was an IT company. And surprise, surprise, they hired me as a system developer. I was in there for 3 years, enjoyed it, made good money. Couldn't buy myself a house, I was still under 21 at the time, and a car, and eventually I could. But then I've always wanted to be part of something bigger, something I didn't have a name, until one time I'm driving around the highways, the motorways of Johannesburg, South Africa, and I saw a building that I used to see on television when we used to pay. I said, no, this building looks like what television is. And then I went there. And within about 3 months, I joined the television industry and I was home. I just felt home from day one on set. And that's when I thought my purpose my passion is to tell stories and to allow others to tell their stories, to liberate others wherever they are. So just in short, that's who Aaron Moloisi is. And besides that, the journey has taken so many shapes. I've done so much in between corporate. I've written books. I've published other authors. Whew, what else, Glenn? I've picked up
I'm
lots of
just like,
languages.
I'm just mind blown when you said 16 in university and then ended by 19. That's just, where did this come from though? Because I know that you said you grew up with a lot of cousins and fighting for your grandma's love, your grandmother's love, and but there must have been something within you because from such a young age to develop that knowing, and this is where it gets interesting because I love the stuff like there's clearly a spiritual journey or something bigger there for you that something just knew at the other side of that village there was more because I'm from the countryside and I knew that back from where I was in the UK. So if my accent's a little all over, it's because I'm originally from the UK, lived in
Okay.
Australia. But at the same time, where do you think that knowing came from?
In retrospect, I look at my grandmother's life. I think she went up to standard two in school, but as I'm growing older in high school, she could speak English. She could tell us what's happening on The Bold and the Beautiful and Days of Our Lives, all the soapies when you come back from school. I'm thinking, how does this woman understand? Because as far as I know, she didn't go far in school.
Mm.
And she started a village, agricultural village. I don't know what you call it, but like a farm where mothers, unemployed women would come in and farm different vegetables to feed their families. Some of them would sell to buy the basics. And she started a creche, a creche. And what blew me off is when she started a high school in Asenim. So we've got a high school registered in the South African education system called Moloisi High School, which is literally behind my grandmother's house. So she's always been a go-getter. She's always been a champion. And her lack of education or not going far in education in life did not stop her from making amazing things. So I think looking back, I've always wanted to model my life around what she did without knowing. It was not a formal lesson of say, this is life, this is what you need to do in life. She was my role model without saying she is. So whatever I do, I always look back and said, if it was her, what would she have done? You know, there's a saying that she used to say to me, "Baphale ngwana ngwanaka," which simply means rise above the rest wherever you are, whether it's at work or at play. Rise above the rest and be better than everybody around you. So I've always carried that line of "Baphale ngwana ngwanaka," and looking back, I think that has been my biggest motivation, even today. You know, would have conversations with her, and she'd say, if he doesn't talk back, it will never, never, ever defeat you because you've got the power. You can talk. He doesn't talk back. So you are able to figure it out and make it work. So you always have the upper hand. And it's in small conversations like that that I had with her that always propelled me forward. Even in the languages that I got to pick up wherever I am. When you meet new people, figure out what they speak, figure out what they're saying, figure out what excites them, figure out what makes them competitive so that you can rise above them and be the best.
Wow, it's clear that your grandmother played a huge role in your life. And this is something that I go past those surface levels with people because it was like, if she was in front of you right now, what would you say to her to thank her for how she shaped you?
You know what? I know we had a very interesting way of acknowledging each other. We just look at each other and we'll smile and nod. We just go, then we know that, you got it. That's the one. So we had an internal way of saying, that's the one, you hit it right. So I know that if she was here, I'll just look at her and she would smile and she would say again in Sepedi, my native language, she would say, Ushumile wana wanaka. And I know what that means, which simply means you've done well, my grandson. And I would know that it will not just be a sentence of you've done well. I would know exactly what she means because that you've done well will be accompanied by the secret nod and the smile. Ushumile wana wanaka.
I love that. Wow. Wow. It's amazing to see how you've come and like listening to everything that you've done because even during what 16 university and then going on and doing university and then you speak like 9 languages. Is it 9 or any more now? Like when do you
It's
have time to sleep?
It's a after this, I'm probably gonna go to bed at about what 10:30, 11. We all have 24 hours. Um, because of the travels that I've done after varsity, because from Limpopo, the province where I'm born, I went to varsity at the University of Fort Hare, which is in the Eastern Cape, eastern side of South Africa, where Nelson Mandela, Robert Mugabe, all the other leaders went to study. So I went there and they speak Xhosa. Xhosa is one of the biggest Nguni languages in South Africa, second to Zulu. So after that, I worked in different parts of the country. So wherever I work, I always make sure that I meet the people from that area. I get to understand the language. So they call it a gift of knowing languages and just an affinity to languages. Because even in my travels, well, I remember when I went to Paris for the first time, my younger sister is married to a Frenchman from Paris. So I had to learn a little bit of French so that when we get there, we can be able to navigate the streets. So wherever I am, I always make sure that I listen because I realized that language is not just words and sentences. Language is energy. Language is a rhythm. You can talk to somebody in China and ni hao ma, and they don't know what you're saying. But when you're saying to them, I'm looking for a place for food, they read your body language, they can pick up the energy and they're able to help you. So language for me, it has become energy that you transfer. So it's easier to then remember words and sentences that you hear because that's how they make you feel at the time. So that's been my secret weapon of learning the languages. But otherwise, and somehow languages are the same, Glenn. Languages sound the same, literally.
Well,
I mean, for instance,
I lived
we've
in
got
Thailand
Afrikaans
for
in
a
South
while.
Africa. It's exactly the same as Deutsch in Germany.
And it's clear that there's a gift there because I lived in Thailand with my wife, who's Thai, for a while, and I went for 3 months to learn Thai, and Swaddy crap is probably the only thing that I picked up. So yeah, true and true. That's a gift in of itself. So you moved
Mm.
forward and you moved into this media landscape. Now, having done what I've done and stepped into kind of in bed with the media industry through Imperfectly Perfect campaign and getting to know a lot of people, producers, journalists, actors, it's a minefield as well. And that comes with it mental well-being. How have you navigated
Absolutely.
your journey through it with knowing the media industry and the landscape for over 22 years? How have you navigated that and kept yourself, should I say, in good stead? Or has there been times where it has got to you?
I'll be very honest, Glenn. It hasn't been an easy one. It hasn't been an easy one because remember, getting into media from the corporate industry, I thought things are formal, things are done in a specific way. People respect you. It's a different ball game altogether. I remember, I think I had 3 months in the industry. I had my first cover newspaper article, It was a big one. So top TV star denies his gay. I was thinking, oh my goodness. And I was not even worried about myself. I was worried about my family, to say, how are they going to take it? Is this the end of my career? Can people really be this mean, as you come in? And something said to me, look, it's a game of numbers. When you get onto media, whether you're on radio or you're on television, you're literally getting into the biggest classroom and you are bound to have people that like you and those who dislike you.
Yeah.
And I remembered, or I thought immediately about what my grandmother would say to say, always remember, rise above the rest. You know, out of the whole thing of top TV star denies is gay, I held on to top TV stars. That, only 3 months and I'm a top TV star. There's something we're doing right here, you know.
Mhm.
But obviously, as you navigate through the industry, you meet people that you build bonds with, and some of them they go through depression, and some of them cannot even, they are not strong enough. I remember the very first time I lost somebody who was close to me. I think it was 2006. He was a musician. I was from another province traveling back to Johannesburg, and I get a call from a radio station to say, "Have you heard so and so has passed away? We're looking for their uncle." And I'm thinking, oh my God, I saw it coming because he had been depressed for so long and he would tweet in the middle of the night, and it would be those kind of tweets of reaching out. Guys, life is not too kind. Guys, stop saying mean things. Yes, you musicians, we are famous, but remember we are human, hinting. And when he passed, it hit me to say, if only I took it serious. And it affected me. But at the same time, I had to keep a straight face the following day for my own shows, for my own audiences. So it hasn't been an easy one. And over the years, you get things thrown at you, Glenn. You get, people making up stories, people coming up with certain things. You start to discover that certain people that you let closer to yourself in your circles are not there with good intentions. So
Mhm.
it's always been a game of you hoping that whoever you allow in your circle has good intentions, but it has not always been the case. And you can only pray and be strong, but it's been a serious. I don't know what to even term it. I don't
Yeah.
even know what to term it because I remember in 2008, I went through a deep myself. I was depressed, but it was brewing very slowly because remember when you wake up and you go to studio, you get there, you've got new guests, you've got new audience, you're fresh, you are the captain of the ship. But deep down, you're thinking, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something wrong. So for a good 5 years, I had what I would call chronic depression. I would finish shooting, beautiful day, guests are happy, the producers are happy, but I'd get home and just cry,
Mhm.
you know, without knowing what it is. Until I thought, let me go see a therapist. And things were going well. Let me go see a therapist. Things were going very well. Because people have got a perception that you go to a therapist or you go and see a shrink when things are tumbling. I was like, sir, things are going well. I'm not here because there's something wrong. I just feel like I want to talk. And then we started talking general stuff. We went back to my childhood and what affects me as a person until we pinpointed that I could be having what I term chronic depression.
Mhm.
Then from there, I started realizing how I can then start managing it. I remember I even tweeted myself to say, hi, my name is Aaron and I suffer from chronic depression. I was not shy about it because I had lost somebody who was depressed and they couldn't say a word about it. So mental illness in this industry is a serious problem. And if you do not attack it, or if you're not brave enough to figure out what it is that you might be going through, sometimes when it intensifies, you're not strong enough, you end up taking your life.
Mhm. Yeah. And that's obviously the saddest thing to it. In terms of the country itself, South Africa, and for somebody who's such renowned as yourself to come out with that, I know there's something that you've often said, which when researching, I just found beautiful that you said, even when it came to you saying there was an article about to come out as gay and everything like that. You've just never seen that, or your family's never seen that. They've seen you for you. And you don't make judgment, whether it's cultural, whether it's what beliefs are. And that's what I thought was really beautiful and profound. So when it comes to South Africa as a country on the whole, when it comes to mental illness and such a renowned public figure speaking out about it, what was that response like? Because I know, and this is how I came across you when you spoke out about another media personality who sadly took their life. Was it well known before a couple of media personalities sadly did take their life before people found it okay to step forward? Like, what's South Africa's response when to it? Do the young kids still find it a stigma that they dare come forward, or is that changing?
It's changing very slowly. The interesting thing is that it's been happening for years that when you look back, you're thinking somebody's death was very mysterious, and then all the signs of suicide are there. Some of their families are brave enough to confirm that actually the person left a suicide note, or some of their deaths remain mystery. So South Africans are aware that depression is a reality. We're having more and more cases of people who are taking their lives because of depression. But for those who are in the media space, my colleagues in the media space, the celebrities, we're talking your soccer players, your actors, your presenters, your musicians. Some of them are still not strong enough to face it so that they can save themselves. You know, we still camouflage a lot. We still, mask it a lot. But the younger generation now are much more open. They are much more quick to
Mhm.
say what it is, and they are much more quick to point it out. They even quick to say, no man, so and so's behavior has changed from such and such a month or such and such a year to this now. So the younger ones, the 2000s and then, the late 2000s, they are much more braver, they are much more matured to point it out and, to see the red flags. So as a country, we are slowly opening up to it to say it's not taboo. It's something that happens, and if you let it, attack you, it might take your life. So we are slowly, as a country, opening up to it. There's a lot of initiatives that are happening. I remember I joined one last day. It's called Men Vitality, where a group of men from all walks of life, we come together and we discuss just mental health to say, is it depression? Is it an anxiety? What is it that you're going through? So it's a group of corporate men and clinicians, and we're now expanding it to your average everyday men, from the different townships to the different provinces as well, to say, whatever it is that you're going through and you don't understand what it is, it could be a mental illness. So let's get together as men, let's share our stories, and let's see where we can help each other. So we're doing that with the backing of clinicians. But generally, as a country, South Africa, we are learning fast. We are learning very fast, and we are becoming braver. We're becoming braver thanks to the younger generation. And also thanks to social media and just globalization. Because, now we're no longer just in our own cocoon as a country, South Africa. We're part of the global village. So we're learning. And to the likes of you.
Thank you. Well, my whole premise was this came out of the blue. So I struggled in the past, body dysmorphia, and I lost a friend sadly to suicide. And I used the medium of photography. So all these images you can see, anyone who's listening, if you watch the YouTube video, these are some of Australia's most prominent public figures. And I was like, the human connection is being lost, sadly, by technology, and we need to bring it back. So I reached out to a lot of prominent public figures like yourself, and I was like, look, I want to capture a moment when you was going through something, and I just shot them around. So next time I'm coming to South Africa, we'll get you on a portrait like that, and it's just removal of everything and getting them to share their story. And like when I reached out to you, like South Africa's prominent figures, and we've got Australia's, we've got America's. And at first, there was some people who wasn't at the top of the game. They was coming up the ranks through TV, and there was like, I don't know if it'll affect my career. So I don't know. I'd love to, but I don't know. And then all of a sudden, like the two middle ones are Australia's biggest names.
Yeah.
As soon as they came on, it was almost like a catalyst. So a big thank you for you stepping forward in South Africa and the rest of the celebrities that obviously was, this is too important not to speak about it, because we can teach our kids that, hey, everything seems rosy on the external. Like you said, you go onto a TV show and everyone's new and the energy's high vibe and you have to put a big smile on. And it's likened to a good friend of mine, Wes Gear, is in America, is a big rock star. And I met him through the campaign. It was like, yeah, we can play in front of 100,000, 500,000, get off stage. I'm in a hotel room with my thoughts. So is there any kind of message that you would give to anyone that's coming up the ranks in the media industry, how to navigate that journey if they are struggling from personal experience?
My message to anybody in the industry or in any public platform, if you are going through any mental illness, first of all, it becomes very intense for you. You get very shy to talk about it. My first advice is find somebody who will be neutral. Don't worry about the people around you. Find somebody who will be neutral, somebody who will not judge you. Find a therapist who is not even known within your circles, somebody who can sit with and pour your heart out. Because the minute you approach somebody who might have some history with you or some sort of entanglement, it becomes very difficult to open up and face whatever it is that you might be going through as a mental illness. So find a completely neutral person, an anonymous person. We do have anonymous numbers in South Africa. For instance, the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. You can call in for free and you remain completely anonymous. Find somebody who will not judge you, somebody who will give you a safe space immediately for you to understand what you're going through before you try and tackle it professionally. Because in order for you to commit to a regular, whether it's therapy session or psychiatric session, whatever treatment that you might be going through after the diagnosis, you need to first understand it and be comfortable with it. So find somebody who will not judge you, somebody who will be completely neutral, somebody who doesn't have any intentions of taking your privacy and making it public in that sense. I find it to be the remedy to be able to open up. Sometimes it's literally just a stranger on the road,
Yeah.
somebody you don't know, somebody who doesn't even know who you are. You sit and just start talking to them, you know. You'll be amazed at how much you get to pour yourself out to a total stranger. And then once you do that, you feel much better. You're able to deal with it and accept whatever it is that you're going through. Because remember, there's also a stigma of if you've got any sort of mental illness, then you are odd, you are weird. You are not weird. Every single person has some degree of mental illness. So you just need to understand which one you have so that you can be able to manage it. Once you acknowledge it, you'll be able to manage it. So my advice is find somebody neutral, understand who you are, understand what you might be going through. Don't be shy about it. We're all together. We're all here for each other. And then you'll start a good journey of healing.
Well, something that I ask every guest that comes on the show, Aaron, and when you was talking about we've all got something going on and that quirks and everything, what does being imperfectly perfect mean to you?
Say that part again, Glenn.
What does being imperfectly perfect mean to you?
Being imperfectly perfect to me means accepting all the imperfections that I have, the ones that I know of at least. That makes me perfect. I'll be perfect in knowing all my imperfections. For instance, if I know that I've got certain limitations, I'm able to perfect all the other ones that I'm able to do. So knowing my imperfections makes me perfect. That's what imperfectly perfect means to me.
Love it. I love asking that question. Everyone's just got such a different, unique way of saying it. And honestly, like when you embrace those imperfections, you draw in that energy of the real people. Like you said, that media industry, and I just want to move into your book, The Art of Staying Power in Media, right? For 22 years. And now you've kind of moved and delved into the Hollywood realm. And I've been to LA a few times. I know a lot of people in that industry. That's it's another kettle of fish when you get to Hollywood and you see some behind the scenes. So the blockbuster that you did, have you been over to Hollywood yet? Or have you stepped your foot into the kind of realm of seeing what it's like being in Hollywood and the fast pace of life there? Because I know you did a lot of shooting, obviously, in South Africa. And so how did that go and come about?
Interestingly enough, I shot my first Hollywood blockbuster in 2013. So it came out in 2016, Queen of Katwe, alongside Lupita Nyong'o.
Mm.
But then they shot those scenes in South Africa. So I was thinking, why aren't we going to Hollywood? I want to go to Hollywood. I want to have a trailer, and rub the shoulders to the big stars. So I've experienced the behind the scenes of how Hollywood sets work. But in South Africa, I've been to New York. I'm planning to go to LA around March this year because my person is in LA. So we're going there to see how things will be. So I know that by end of the year, end of 2025, I should be in Hollywood. Something should be happening. It's also about the energy. When you feel that you're getting closer to something. You don't know how, you don't know when, but you know it's definitely happening.
Yes.
So I'm definitely going to Hollywood this time. But yeah, my name is in Hollywood. Queen of Katwe alongside Lupita Nyong'o and David Oluwayo.
I know exactly what you mean. The first time I went to LA, it was like it's just a whole different. I don't know what it is, but when I came back and I started the Imperfectly Perfect campaign, people were like, "You're relentless. Where did you get this from?" And I was like, honestly, America, like whether you fail, whether whatever, everything's a blessing. We look in hindsight, but America, it's just like you've got a goal, but you clearly had that from the go, like at 4 years old in South Africa. So when you go to Hollywood, you're just going to go on this trajectory of just like Aaron's in town, get out the way.
Just keep, just keep it moving.
Oh, it is. Well, I'm actually there in April. You're in there in March. How long are you going for?
For LA, I'm going to LA probably end of March, April.
Oh, well, I'm going to be there on the 21st. I can introduce you to some people if you're still about.
So you're going there on the 21st of April.
21st of April till the 30th.
Okay, you know what? Maybe I can plan it around there because the reason I'm saying March, April is because I just signed a contract with Mr. International. He's the first African to be crowned Mr. International, which is owned by Bangkok. So 2 weeks ago, we signed the contract. I think I told you in the email to say we signed the contract as exclusive agent for South Africa. So we're planning his first tour March, April. So I might plan it so that he comes here. And then around the 21st of April, I come to LA because I would love to meet you and we get to meet everybody else. Let's make the noise. They must know Aaron is in town and Glenn is in town. Get out of the way.
I always give everyone the best piece of advice because this is what I did when I went, and I'm not in the entertainment industry, but I went to the gym. Everyone's like, Glenn, how do you meet people? How do you get to know these big names? And I'm like, literally, the gym. Because nobody's got a profession or a title in a gym. Everyone's either there for community or to feel good, and you connect on a whole different, it's that energy again. And it's like, I'm not there looking for who's this and what they can do. And it's like you build a relationship built on sustainability, longevity. And that's why I say to everyone who's a guest on the show, I'm like, we get it done, we edit it, we send it back to the guests so they can check it. Because in the media industry, we know that a piece of media can be picked up and used as clickbait. And that's not what we're about. And that's just built friendships for long times. And everyone's like, how do you know these people? And I'm like, because they're people. They've got accolades, they've got everything, but at the end of the day, you know it's the energy behind it. And I once went on a show, I'll tell you quickly, they interviewed me and it really took me back because it was live and there was like, Glenn, what you've created is incredible, but how do you feel about people, prominent public figures sharing their story with you, their vulnerability? First time I'm on TV in America, I went, white as anything. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't think about it like that. So I'm like, so yeah, it's amazing when you connect people on an energy level and something different, and you know that their heart is pure and you can help them and move. So I'll take you to the gym when you're there and introduce you.
Definitely. I love the gym. Let's go to the gym and let's just run on energy because I'm very big on energy as well. So I can't wait to meet you, Glenn.
Oh, it'll be amazing. But back to your book, The Art of Staying Power in Media. Tell us, obviously, that the title kind of encapsulates what it is, but is there anything in there that you can bring out that's obviously a little bit different? What is the staying power in media for such longevity?
Um, it's just the art of staying power in media. For me, it's mainly the lessons that I've learned, looking back to say, how have I managed to stay relevant for over 23 years now? So I take the key lessons that I've learned, but also, in fact, this was very interesting. I had one of the readers give me a review. She's a manager at Avis Car Rental to say some of the principles that I wrote about in the book are beyond just being in media. Because I focus on, as a human being, whatever space that you're in, whether it's at work, whether it's at gym, whether it's in the office, whether it's at home, what are the basic principles that you need to apply as a human being to coexist with people around you? That becomes your art of staying power. When you realize that people around you are comfortable with certain things that you do or with certain words that you utter, that becomes your staying power. Always identify unique things about you, whether it's in the way that you compliment people, whether it's in the way that people say you make them feel. Those are your secret weapons. Those are your secret traits that allow you to have a staying power. So I teach people how to identify those unique things because every single person has got a unique set of tools that makes you powerful as a person. So the art of staying power helps you identify your unique set of tools that will allow you to stay in whatever lane, whatever field, whatever industry that you're in for as long as you want, for as long as you want. And I simplify it with how I've discovered my set of tools and how I've used those set of tools to stay in the industry for 23 years and still going strong with it. And the lovely thing about it is that at the end of every single chapter, I've got tasks where you reflect back in your own life to say, what are the things? So I help you hold your hand to say, how do you, identify those things? How do you know that these are the truth? Because sometimes you don't know, It's in the simple things. Because remember, Glenn, one thing, the biggest question that everybody has is, I hear all this, but how do I do it?
Yeah.
How do I do it? So every single chapter has got the little tasks that you can do to help you identify your unique set of tools to make you stay powerful in whatever lane that you are, to help you continue to let your light shine to others.
That's amazing because, like you say, with social media these days, we see highlights and we see we can 10x your business, we can do this, we can do this. And it's almost like a ploy to get people in, but there's no strategy. And that question, everyone's like, but how? Like, you're selling me the motivation, you're selling me this, but I need to know A to B to C to E, like to go, because it's not easy, is it? And I think the more you share those imperfections on that journey, like your book clearly does in the media space. But one last question I want to touch on, because I heard it and I felt it when I was watching the interview. But when there was an amazing, incredible interviewer on a radio show that was interviewing you about your spiritual journey. And I just found it
Oh,
profound
yes.
because the journey
Thank
that
you.
I've been on, like I wasn't brought up around faith, I wasn't brought up around spiritual. It kind of came to me through all of this and learning about people and people coming to me and saying this has been led. And I'm like, yeah, I'm bloody working hard. I didn't know. But then when I started tapping in a little bit more, and when I heard it on an interview, I was like, yeah, he's got to know him somehow. So can you tell us into that? Has that kept you going through your journey, touching base with your spiritual side, or did that come from your grandmother as well?
Funny enough, it came from my great grandfather, but then my grandmother made me realize it. When I started school at 4, I remember coming back from school helping her clean one of the huts that we used to live in. And I saw some bones. You know those beautiful bones? Have you seen bones that they use to connect with energies?
No.
You've never seen them. So in South Africa, because you've got all the different spiritualists. You've got those who use water, they pray for water and then they sprinkle on you. And you've got your fortune tellers, you've got your tarot readers. So we've got what we call sangomas, where you literally have like different bones in a bag
Right.
and then they throw them on the floor. They're able to connect.
I've seen stuff like that. Yes. Online.
Yes. So I saw that and I asked her what it was. And she said to me, never ask me about that anymore. But there was such a strong connection and I never saw them anymore. And throughout the years, I remember when I was 26, I asked her, why is it that my imaginary friend talks to me during the day and every day? Because I'm able to just sit and have a third voice where I can say, today this is what's going to happen in class. And I'd be like, okay, cool. If that's what's going to happen, I want to see this to see if you're real. And that would happen. So throughout the years, I've been testing it, but in a childish way, you know, until it was 2019 when I realized that I need to do something about this because it's intensifying. That's when I realized that the journey I'm on, yes, I'm a talk show host, I'm an actor, but I'm a healer because every single time people would come back to say, you said something to somebody on an interview and that changed my life. And you never know the impact of it, until I went to Mozambique. Something just pulled me to Mozambique. I went to the sea, went to pray there. And when I came back, I had a vision that then said I must wear white beads. So I walk around with white beads around my neck. Ne? So in between what I do for work, if you look at my Instagram, on my Instagram reels, right at the bottom, sometimes I get instructions to just go on live with random strangers and have spiritual connections. So sometimes I get on and we'll have conversations with somebody and I'll just start having random messages about what I think they are in their life, what I think they should do. And it gets very specific sometimes to the point where if it's a grandmother that gives me the messages, I'll tell you that it's your grandmother saying 1, 2, 3, and she's giving me reference to 1, 2, 3, almost like a psychic medium.
Yeah.
Except I'm not as deep as a psychic medium where I sit and then I scribble and I tell you exactly. But it's as close as that. And because I've allowed it to flow, I'm able to tap into instantly. And it has allowed me to attract the right people in my path. Whatever moves that I make, I attract the right people, the right energy. Just you start gravitating to people that are part of your path, part of your movement, you know for whatever reason, because obviously the bigger power, the higher power, the universe, whatever we call it, God, ancestors, um, angels, the Holy Spirit, whatever it is that we call, will always give you signs of if you're in the right path, you will meet the right people and they will open the right doors. So I've acknowledged the gift that I'm a healer of a different kind, and that has allowed me to meet other healers. Look at us all the way across in Australia. We are sitting here having a conversation. Who would have known? Out of all the South Africans, out of all the Australians, but they chose you to be able to continue with your path and with my path in this way. That's what my belief is, as far as the gift is concerned.
That's amazing. And then if we'll catch up in LA, we know it was meant to be. That'll be a confirmation,
Do you
mate.
see what I mean?
Random that you're going at this similar time to me as well.
It's mind blowing. It's mind blowing.
So,
I've realized that with the universe's duty is to execute your thoughts, negative or positive or maybe. If it's a yes, it will give you a yes. If it's a no, it will give you a no. If it's a maybe, it will give you a maybe. Just don't ask when and how.
yeah,
That's
I
all.
think that's the biggest thing, isn't it? Because everyone's trying to control the narrative towards spirituality. And these days, it's almost like you can listen to Tom, Dick, and Harry, as I often say on social media, and manifestation, this, that, and the other. And I think I've learned along my journey, it will happen at the right time for you. You don't have to pay for this, that, and the people can guide you, people can heal you, people can make a living. I understand that. But it comes to that fine line between stop trying to control it. Like if it's going to happen, it has to happen in natural progression, I believe anyway. And I'm just like, what you believe is you believe. And I'm never going to project what I feel onto somebody else if that's their unique path. I think I've learned that we're all imperfect, we fall short of glory, but we get and navigate onto the right path if we listen to those signs and synchronicities and meet the right people. And everything else is a lesson or a test. And sometimes they're bloody hard.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Your gut feel and your intuition will always guide you.
Yes.
I often joke to say, look, why are you worried about directing this movie? It's not your movie. It's a gift. For all you know, you might have not waken up that morning. So somebody woke you up. Let them control that movie because it's not your movie. It's not your script.
Exactly. Well, last question
Yeah.
for you, Aaron. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. What is your parting message to anybody listening to this with respect of your journey, how you've gone, and just what you want to say to people about life in general?
My message to anybody listening to this anywhere in the world is when you had ignorance is bliss, there was the truth. Let's stop knowing too much because when you know too much, you start wanting to control too much. Life is easy. Life is a bliss. Go with how you feel. Be sincere. Always make sure your intentions are pure and the universe will propel you forward purely. Always make sure your intentions are pure and sincere. The universe will propel you forward sincerely and purely.
Love that. Love that. I wish more people could understand that it's going, I always go, what God can give, he can take. So why wouldn't you move forward with sincerity? Because look at your industry, 22 years, 23 now, and you've continued doing it purely with sincerity. You can get there. You don't have to look over people, look through people, look around. And I know in the media, there's a lot of scarcity mindset, whereas people do tend to, I never understood it, why there were small little circles of people. And I was like, why don't you all just work together? If you're not working, create. But yeah, I'd start noticing patterns of like people would be like, oh, I can't let go of that's my agent, and it's like we've got this world backwards, but it's societal conditioning. We're allowing powers that be, i.e., man and woman, to dictate the collective actually just moving forward. So I can ramble on all day, mate. But I know it's your evening. So tell me what's coming up for you next, other than LA. And where can people find out more information about you, Aaron?
Well, I will be making the big announcement with the signing of Mr. International probably beginning of March. And I've got I call it a show, although people call it a podcast, that I'm going to be shooting in the next 3 weeks. Also, we made history in South Africa. The first African got crowned Mrs. World last week. So that's
Wow.
a very good friend of mine. So it's been an interesting journey. So I'm shooting the episode with her, and my show on YouTube is basically in the 23 years, all the big interviews that I've had an impact on. I go back to those people, those who are still alive, to say, how has life been? You know,
Mm.
and those who've made legendary moves to say, what has been the aha moments for you? What has been those moments where you thought, that's it. That's the one. So in my quest to try and answer how, by talking to people who've made legendary moves to try and figure out how they figure it out and teach other people, assist other people, make other people learn on how they can find the how for themselves. That's my next journey. Other than that, I'm just going to be continuing with my work. I've got a brand development and marketing agency. I'm going back into corporate slowly. So other than that, I'm meeting Glenn in LA in April, and we're going to Hollywood.
And let's just say Hollywood, just prepare for Aaron. Get out of the way.
That's it.
I'm coming to town.
Roll out the red carpets.
Well, I'm going to set you a challenge, mate. So it's not another, should I say, it's an accent rather. So Google, when you've got time, I know that you don't sleep or anything, but Yorkshire accent. So when I meet you in LA, I want to hear some Yorkshire. Add that to your repertoire.
Okay.
That's like another whole different ball game. It's like, who are they? Are they doing all right? I'm going to turn to eat. It's like Shakespearean. So that'll be a funny one.
You know what the funny thing is? I usually would watch Britain's Got Talent, and I would listen to those who speak the Britain, like the British, the rural deep, to say, "Oh, who you with? How is my mom? Who was food?" You know that one. So I like playing out with accents. Yeah, I'm gonna create a monologue for you.
Amazing. Well, thank you on behalf of myself, the campaign, all of our listeners. Thank you very much, because it's these hard conversations that save lives. So until next time, guys, we're going to put all the links up where you can find more information about Aaron. And I'll just say one more time, Hollywood, get ready for Aaron Moloisi. Yeah, I just can't wait for you to be there.
To learn more about our work, visit our official website and discover how one man, Glenn Marsden, redefined imperfection and built a global movement.